Welcome, listeners, to today's market update. I'm your host, Pat Walker, and we've got a lot to cover in today's episode, so let's dive right in. The stock market had a fantastic day today, with all major indices closing higher by at least 1%. This rally was driven by some encouraging economic data, particularly the Producer Price Index for July. Let's break it down for you. The total PPI increased by 0.10% month over month in July, which was in line with expectations. More importantly, the core PPI, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, remained flat. This is great news for those worried about inflation, as it shows a slowing in price increases at the producer level. Year over year, we're seeing a significant slowdown in inflation. Total PPI is up 2.20% compared to last year, down from 2.70% in June. Core PPI is up 2.40%, a nice drop from June's 2.90%. This disinflation trend is exactly what the Federal Reserve wants to see, and it's boosting optimism about potential rate cuts in the future. The positive PPI data, combined with some weak economic data from China and Europe, sent Treasury yields tumbling. The 10-year note yield fell 6 basis points to 3.85%, while the 2-year yield, which is more sensitive to Fed policy expectations, dropped 8 basis points to 3.94%. Before we continue, I want to take a quick moment to remind you all, don't forget to like and subscribe to help support the channel, and leave a comment below if you have any questions. Your engagement helps us bring you more of the content you love. Now let's get back to today's market action. Now let's talk about the stock market performance. The S&P 500 closed above 5,400 for the first time since August 1st, erasing losses from last week's sharp sell-off following the jobs report. It was a broad-based rally, with 10 out of 11 S&P 500 sectors finishing higher. Leading the charge were information technology up 3%, consumer discretionary up 2.40%, communication services up 1.50%, and healthcare up 1.20%. The only sector in the red was energy, which fell 1% due to declining commodity prices. Speaking of commodities, WTI crude oil futures settled 1.90% lower at $78.37 per barrel, while natural gas futures dropped 1.40% to $2.16 per million BTS. Now let's highlight a few individual stocks that made waves today. Home Depot, a Dow component, closed up 1.20%, despite initially trading down on below consensus guidance. But the real star of the day was Starbucks, which surged an incredible 24.50%. This massive jump came after the company announced a shocking leadership change. In a move that caught many by surprise, Starbucks hired Chipotle's CEO, Brian Niccol, as its new chairman and CEO. This news sent Starbucks shares soaring, while Chipotle's stock fell 7.50%. Looking at year-to-date performance, the Nasdaq Composite leads the pack, up 14.50%, followed closely by the S&P 500 at 13.90%. The S&P Midcap 400 is up 6.20%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average has gained 5.50%, and the Russell 2000 is up 3.40%. Before we wrap up, let's look ahead to tomorrow's important economic data. The July Consumer Price Index will be released at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This report could either reinforce or challenge today's optimistic mood, so be sure to tune in tomorrow for our analysis. Before we wrap up, let's look ahead to tomorrow's important economic data. The July Consumer Price Index will be released at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This report could either reinforce or challenge today's optimistic mood, so be sure to tune in for our analysis. That's all for our market update. Stay tuned for more market news. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.